Bad news from Big Thunder Mountain, good news from Radiator Springs Racers, and updates on what's happening on Harbor Boulevard, Bag Check, and Avatar Land, all coming up on this week's construction update from Fresh Baked. So let's get this started in Cars Land to see how things are going at Radiator Springs Racers. Walls are still up, obviously. Sign is still there telling guests, hey, sorry, we're not operating today. It's been kind of a bummer because every time I go through here, I see guests going back to this corner and being disappointed that the attraction is not open. But we're getting close. We're getting close. As we observed last week, the track resurfacing appears to have been completed, at least on this portion. We also saw it from the Pixar Pal Around. And I'm not saying any visible scaffolding here. Even in the location where we found it last week, haven't seen any scaffolding. Meanwhile, the holes have been filling. This is a stretch where we saw that there was a gap. They were working on something inside the rockwork. But otherwise, everything looks to be pretty much done here. So what's left is most likely just ride testing. And we actually do have this image, which is great. Perfect timing. This is from Ron S. on the Fresh Baked Street Team via the freshbakedpresents.com app. Ron posted this to the app the other day saying, look, there's some ride testing. It's a great catch because at this point, they're probably not doing regular testing. As a matter of fact, we probably won't see that until probably this week, during the week. I say that because it is scheduled to reopen. By the time we do this report next week, it'll be reopened. It is scheduled to reopen on Friday. So I'll be there on Friday on the day that it reopens, and hopefully we'll get a chance to ride and show you guys that as well to see how everything looks and feels. So this should be up and running by Friday the 26th. And so all that's left barely is just, as I mentioned, just ride testing. So that's the good news for those of you planning a trip to the Disneyland Resort. I just got Lightning McQueen's autograph, I think. A cast member saw me walking around here admiring Radiator Springs Racers. Apparently he had a spare one of these. He was holding a bunch of them. I got signed, framed, sort of-ish. They got little framing things going on here. There's his autograph. Lightning McQueen, ka-chow. Radiator Springs, 2025. And Tomater. I wonder, is that technically his autograph? I don't know. But how cool. They just handed this to me. Cast members are so nice. I absolutely love cast members, and I love you, sir, who handed me this. Before we see what else is going on at DCA, which there is quite a bit, let's get back to Disneyland. I want to stop in Disneyland real fast to talk about Small World. Small World has hit the refurb calendar. It'll be closing on October 30th. Now, this is not a big deal, though. This is expected. This is to begin the installation of Small World Holiday, the Christmas theme, the lights and everything. It's going to be beautiful. They do this every year, so that's going to go down on October 30th. One thing, though, that we may expect is an extended closure on the back end of things after the holiday season is over in January. They may keep it closed longer than is typical. As I understand it, do you guys remember they did that whole refurb of Small World leading up to, I want to say it was just reopened a few months ago, right? That was to add Miguel and Dante from Coco and also to install the new music as part of the 70th. Also part of that refurb, though, was work on the nuts and bolts of the attraction, non-guest facing updates. As I understand it, they didn't get everything done in time. They didn't finish everything. There's more to do. So we're going to be looking at the calendar to see if it extends past January after the end of the holiday season. Stand by for that. While we're in the neighborhood, let's go check in on Troubadour Tavern, which has been going through a rather lengthy paint and polish here. The scrim is still up. The construction walls are still up. So this has been going on for like a month now. Meanwhile, the walls are down at the Fantasyland Theater. There was a lot of whooping and hollering. They took down the Pixar whatever event that was happening, presumably because they're going to be installing Christmas. But it just seems odd. Something doesn't seem right about the timing of everything that's happened here. I'm going to go ahead and assume that this means that the Pixar Friends thing that they were doing there, what they did for Pixar Fest, and then they brought back for the 70th, I'm going to assume it's a failure. I'm going to assume that it didn't go as well as they had planned it would, because this 70th thing is supposed to go on up until next summer. And all of the things that are 70th associated, including the I can't remember the name of what they called it. Now, I know they were going to take it down because they're going to put in a holiday theme there. They're going to have a Santa Claus meet and greet there for the holidays, which is fine. It's good. But I wondered, so they just tore all that down. It's gone, right? So I gotta think that's the end. When the holidays are over in January, they're not bringing back Pixar thing, right? I got to assume that. With that, let's head over to Frontierland for our lead story. Big Thunder. Last week, we made a big production about the fact that there was a date on the refurb calendar, a date in October that I felt like was well in advance of what I was expecting. I didn't think it was going to reopen in October. I was looking more like November, possibly early December. So I was a bit shocked to see that. And it suggested to me that maybe what they were doing was not as intensive, as invasive as I thought it would be. Well, no sooner did we report that on Monday did Disney take it back. They undid the reopening date. Now the refurb calendar is showing as open-ended now. It is unknown when Big Thunder will reopen. That's at least 45 days from now. So now we are into November at this point. As that, I think 45 days from now is maybe the 2nd of November. I'm not positive. So it's possible. My thinking is this, that somebody goofed, and it never was. I don't believe that it ever was supposed to open on the 25th. I don't think that they had a setback. I think somebody goofed. They put the date in there when they shouldn't have, and then as soon as everybody on social media started reporting it, myself included, Disney got they're like, oh, no, shoot, that's not right. This is, it's not ready for October 25th. So we are left to an unknown date. Meanwhile, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they have updated the trains. We know that there are trains outside on the tracks under cover, but instead of that gray cover, that plastic-looking cover, they have the new covering. It looks more like scrim, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why that is, if it means anything, if it's indicative of some sort of change in what they're doing. I just thought that was interesting. It could just be a second layer. I'm not sure. But otherwise, the good news is that there's still no construction walls around the perimeter of the attraction. And I'm not seeing new scaffolding. We're going to peek through here. That scaffolding in the loading area was present last week. And as we try to peek through and into the depths of the attraction onto the track itself, I see some scaffolding up there where those turns come close to the queue. That was up there as well last week, I believe. So I'm not seeing anything new. I don't believe they've added any areas of work. So we're going to keep our eyes open for that. Come around the other side. And there again is another one of those Big Thunder trains under scrim instead of the plastic wrap, or like I said, it could be both. But no construction walls here, no scrim or no scaffolding on the track here, which obviously they weren't planning. Track is not the problem. So I wasn't expecting to see scaffolding there, but nothing here as well. The water is still off, which is fine. It should be off. So good news, bad news when it comes to Big Thunder. Good news is that it doesn't look like they're adding any more work to do. Bad news is that we're not going to be ready for October 25th. We are now looking probably, I'm going to guess again, November, mid to late November for Big Thunder. Now forgive me, but I'd like to take a quick break from this construction update to let you guys know about Getaway Today. You may already know that they are our preferred vacation planner, travel agent for our fans who are looking to book a trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World or more. Universal Studios Hollywood, Universal Orlando, SeaWorld, Legoland, you name it. And I'd like to think that we know them very well. We've met many of them personally, and we know how kind they are and how really tremendously good they are at their jobs. And that's why I'm confident in referring our fans to Getaway, because I am confident that you will be treated just as well as we have. If you're planning a trip to a Disney park or Universal or anything else of that nature, if you're planning a trip soon, use the link in our description so that they know that we sent you and so that we know that you were sent to them through one of our YouTube videos. And in so doing, you can be confident that you're going to be getting some of the best possible service from people who know everything there is to know about planning a trip to the Disney parks. Thank you for that. Let's get back to the show. Now, I want to go back to DCA to look at some things, but on the way, we'll stop. This is the Toy Story bus, and we can see that Avengers Campus dirt is still there. Just keep an eye on this, regular updates to see if that dirt is growing or shrinking in any way. But the mound is actually just about as it has been the last few weeks. We'll go out to Harbor to check in on the backside of Avengers Infinity Defense to get the latest from here, which is It's getting fuller and fuller by the day, by the week. That building is really starting to get more depth, and they're adding more steel every day. You can see a lot of action, a lot of activity on the work site. There are guys here that we haven't seen in weeks past. They're very busy in every part of this building site. In fact, there's a guy right now walking on that roof. How cool. Actually, there's two guys walking on the roof. The guy's on the top level, and another guy on the level before that on that section that is in the kind of in the middle of the work site, working on what I would imagine to be the ceiling or roof type elements. But the thing that struck me the most as I was recording this on this day was the sound of something being built. As much as I love the site, dirt, scrim and scaffold, the site of construction happening, there's a little extra something when it comes to the sound. Like, I'll walk by a construction site, and if I don't hear anything, I'm kind of sad. If I don't hear action happening on a working site, I get a little bummed. But when I hear action like that really makes me happy. I don't know, there's something about me and about construction that I just love. Even though I don't know the first thing about it, I couldn't build a thing in my life dependent on it. But I love to watch it happen. That is the Knothole King. That look at Avengers Infinity Defense takes us back to Harbor Boulevard, where we got an update on the paint that we saw last week that we reported on, which is definitely a sign of something happening out here on Harbor. This is right in front of the entrance where the buses come in to the Disneyland Resort. I noticed on future trips through here that the paint is not just along that crosswalk. I noticed that the paint actually extends all the way into the street, across the street towards the Pumbaa Lot. You can see it right there almost in the middle of the street. So it's a very intensive area that they're working on where that paint is. I got a lot of response, by the way. Thank you guys very much from the street team and folks in comments explaining what the paint was. We're seeing white paint, orange paint, red paint. You're looking at electric, communication, phone perhaps, and then proposed white as where they might actually dig. Well, not dig per se, but drill down just to do testing. The idea, from what I understand, is that they're doing this because they're going to be adding more utilities into the resort that didn't exist previously. All this for Avatar, and perhaps also I should add for the Eastern Gateway parking structure that is supposed to happen over there across the street at the Pumbaa Lot. I believe that these two projects are going to be symbiotic. You can't really start one until the other one is done. So though they're prepping for Avatar, it could be that it's the parking structure that it's going to come. Well, it has to begin first. We haven't seen anything yet from the Pumbaa Lot. It still looks just like it did on this day. I drove by there. It looked exactly like it is. So there's no prep happening there yet that we can see anyway. But one thing I can say is this is the beginning of something. I did check. This is interesting. On our way in to bag check, I checked where we found that new white paint last week. It's gone already. This is right here is where it should be. It's gone. I'm not even sure where it was. All I know is I don't see it here anymore. So that means I would assume that they did their drilling, they did their samples, they figured out where everything was, and they restored it like it never happened, which means that I think, right, we should be close to doing something. We'll see. Let's get to the park. I was surprised when we got here at the Esplanade to see this is at 9:10 in the morning. Look at that queue there for DCA. We haven't seen a queue like that to get into the park. We haven't seen crowds like that in the park in months. So it was nice to see a healthy amount of guests trying to get in DCA this morning. We're here to get on the Pixar Pal Around to see what's up with Avengers Infinity Defense. And as expected, we're seeing a lot more steel than we saw last week. It's a lot more obvious and apparent what's going on back there. Steel everywhere, and it's reaching the width of that work site. It's going all the way from, the old barn for the red car trolley. It's going all the way from there to the other side on the back end of the lot. It's going end to end. So this is the full width, I believe, of the building. Meanwhile, no action at all here at the restroom site. Matter of fact, we haven't seen any action here for a couple of weeks. Now, part of that reason could be that they were waiting to finalize permits. This is something that we've been tracking via Theme Park IQ. It looks like they finally acted on that. If you see by the permit listing, the permit was originally filed in April of this year for the restroom that they're building, and it expired like a week ago. I think that they finally did confirm that. So I believe construction will now finally begin now that they've got that permit done and in place for a 2,841 square foot restroom with custodial closets and electrical room, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to expect at this point, now that that permit is going again, that they're going to start building that actual restroom, which again is only part of what they're doing back there. We'll get to that in a little bit when we get on the ground. Meanwhile, we'll go back, take another quick look at the work site here for Avengers Infinity Defense. Now this week, before we leave the Pixar Palaron, I wanted to point my camera in a new direction to see if we can see. We're talking about the next project being, pushing out Hollywood backlot into the transportation hub. From here, we can see Monsters, Inc. That's that blue building there, or the kind of the beige building with the blue, and actually that's PhilharMagic to its left behind those palm trees. That's Hollywood. That's the Hollywood backlot there. Those buildings are what's going to come down, and then that row of trees behind Monsters, Inc. is that row of trees that separate DCA from the transportation hub. As you walk in, you look to your left, you can see the Monsters, Inc. building, and you can see those trees. You can't see anything today. Nothing can be seen here other than the trees and the Monsters, Inc. building. But those trees are going to come down. They have to come down in order to grow out that area. So we are going to be able to see. This is really exciting. It's actually, I'm getting, tingles in my arm right now. The expectation that those trees are going to come down. That building we're going to see the demo of that building from here. And then we're going to be able to see into the transportation hub and the construction of Avatar Land, or whatever they want to call it, the Avatar Experience, Avatar Destination. So while it's really far, just like it is for Avengers Infinity Defense, there is going to be some kind of view. The PhilharMagic building is going to block our view a little bit because that building is not coming down. The PhilharMagic building is not coming down, but everything to its right will be fascinating. I cannot wait until this begins. With that, let's get back on the ground. Let's get back to Cars Land. Let's take a look at the construction walls that are up. And again, as I mentioned, no action here. Hasn't been any action on this part of the space in a few weeks at least, but we can see a little more of the building poking out over here, the Luigi's walls. That's exciting. We'll go around the other side to Avengers Infinity, or I should say Avengers Campus, to take a look at the building. And oh, look at that. There's actually a guy welding up there. How exciting is that? There's actual welding happening while we're on location. Terrific. Moved our camera over a little bit to see a little bit of the depth towards the left and more of that welding smoke, although it looks like he's stopped. So as we pivot to the right, or to the right, we can see how that building is growing in multiple directions and at multiple heights. This is, as we have said every week since we began this, since they started going vertical, every week we're seeing, the advancements that they made. It's only been vertical for 3-4 weeks maybe. So again, foot on the gas. Disney's cranking this out. I can't believe how quickly things are moving here. And there is a little bit of a closer look. We'll come back again next week like we do every week, but for now we're going to head over to Grizzly Peak Recreation Area. The Grizzly River Run is up and running and has been running great for for a while now. It was closed for a little bit. And I'm, every time I come through here, I'm pleased. I want to report on something at Grizzly just because I love being in this space so much. I love seeing all that rushing water, and the sound is incredible. But I have, bad news to report again this week. Still no geysers out here at the end of Grizzly River Run. I've been waiting. We're going on, it's more than a month now, I think, since those geysers have been operating. And we were so excited. It was such good news to see those things come back. It added an element and added a much more visceral, kinetic ending finale to the whole thing because you don't really see it coming. If you're not a regular, you don't see those geysers coming. And now it's just sort of a meh finish to where you just kind of exhale. So I hope they get that fixed too, because it makes a huge difference in how guests enjoy Grizzly River Run. And I do think that they are working. I don't think this is negligence. I don't think that they're neglecting it, because if they were, they never would have restored it to begin with. I just feel like it's perhaps more complicated to keep those things going than we might think. We'll head out to the Esplanade, downtown Disney, stopping at Earl's Sandwich. Checking out on Earl's Sandwich. A while back, they had said that was going to close possibly in July. That got delayed, pushed back. I have heard rumors of something maybe happening by the end of this month or perhaps into October. Stay tuned. I don't have anything concrete on this as of yet. One thing we can look out, though, for is that when you start seeing these stanchions come down, that's a possible indicator of them beginning with Earl's Sandwich demo and with the demo of those ticket booths, which are going to coincide with the demo of the current Earl's Sandwich building. Keep that in mind when we get to Earl's Sandwich that they're building here in the back part of downtown Disney. Along the way, we'll note that Tortilla Joe's is still stuck. Absolutely no progress here for a good 2 months now. It has been stuck in whatever it's doing. What's happening at the ESPN zone is the opposite of progress, as best as I can tell, because I'm just kind of shocked that this is where we're at. They've stripped this. This is the center part of the whole building of the ESPN zone building. They've stripped that facade again. At least I think so, right? Haven't we seen them stripping all various parts of these? They've been building it and then stripping it. Perhaps I'm thinking about the left side. Perhaps I'm thinking about the middle. But at any rate, they are still working on the facade elements there. You can see the studs, the metal studs there behind that. I know they did on the left side there in this frame. I know they did that recently. Am I taking crazy pills? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I feel like my memory is not what it should be, because I want to say that's the second time that they've done that to that facade back there. And I want to say that's like the third or fourth different thing that they have undone, that they've built, that they have modified or whatever, and then undid it and then did it again. Unless I'm taking crazy pills, you guys tell me. Meanwhile, practically no progress at all at Earl's Sandwich. Everything looks to be about how we left it. I mean, I have to think that there couldn't possibly be a closing date that's soon for the Earl's Sandwiches back there at the La Brea Bakery. If this is as far as they've gotten with this building, this has been stuck here for a little while too. In fact, unlike what we saw at Avengers Infinity Defense, and just like last week, no sounds, no sights, nothing. I don't get the sense of anything happening behind that scrim and scaffold. I don't get the sense that they're doing anything here at all. We do have a new entry into the Downtown Disney update calendar. That is Naples. There's some facade work happening there, some scaffolding up at Naples. And then we'll get back into Disneyland and talk about some other key elements, key stories. One of which, and I don't know, I feel like this is final. The fountains have been missing. The fountains that they installed for the 100th, which stuck around for a little while, but I had asked the question, are they going to keep those fountains post 100th? And we are now well past the 100th, obviously, and we're deep into the 70th. I haven't seen these guys in a while. They've turned those fountains off. They're not coming back. Nope. They are not coming back. We'll head back to the Rivers of America, check in on Tom Sawyer Island. We mentioned that it closed for a couple of days, and I did not expect anything of consequence to be happening. We'll get on a raft, see what happens. Take a quick tour around the island and find that still no access for guests out into the front area, the Fantasmic stage area. No access to Lafitte's Tavern. Those steps are still blocked off. That still doesn't do anything. It never has. Pirates, or I should say Dead Man's Grotto, is open, which is good. But bad is still no water, no waterfall, no moving water on the island, basically. Good news here. The bridge is still up, the rope bridge, which is great. It's a great scene. There goes the Columbia. That's back, or I should say it's in the water now. But as we've noted in other updates, that the Columbia will be closing soon. Actually, by the time you see this, it will have closed. The pontoon bridge is up and running. Good news, but no bilge pump. Sorry, not working today. Such a drag, man. No bilge pump. And no treasure lift, also not working today. And by the way, the water looks murky as well. The caves are open, or at least this cave is. That's good news. That's probably the best part of going to the island are the caves. However, just like we reported, I want to say maybe a month or two ago, the rear caves by the pirate treasure area, those were closed back then and looks to be still closed today. So those have not been functioning, or I should say, available to guests for at least a month, probably two. Don't know what they're working on there. We'll get back on the mainland, look at pirates. I'm stopping here because I was excited to see ropes up on the bridge. I haven't seen ropes up on the bridge in a while post, moving this off of Fast Pass, off Lightning Lane. So that's an indication that they're getting more crowds. We talked about the crowds that we saw in the Esplanade. The park itself, Disneyland, seemed a bit busier. This is the first time I've really noticed any kind of intensity in the parks. Just adding this here real quick. So I was excited to see those ropes up, and excited to see a very full queue in this part. It's still pretty empty. The queue is still just 20 minutes, and there weren't a lot of guests out here in that open area, but at least more so than we've seen in the past. Meanwhile, Haunted Mansion definitely looks busier. That was a posted 40-minute wait time. And they're using the Otis Garden and that walkway back there, so things look a little bit busier than before. Taking a peek at Tiana's, this is something that I've noticed for a couple of weeks now, but haven't been able to report on it. The waterfall. Where that orange rock is, there should be a waterfall. I have not seen that waterfall running in, I'm going to say, maybe 2 or 3 weeks now, so we're going to keep an eye on that. We've been keeping an eye on Raised Berets. From the front, it looks about as we've left it. The front looks, kind of suspect. There are definite dead patches there, but still some grass growing. But from the back, that back left section over there to the left of the chimney thing is dead. That grass is pretty much dead back there. So I'm pulling for you. I'm pulling for you, Disney. I'm pulling for you, Raised Berets. Let's get that grass growing. We'll head next to Fantasyland to check in on Casey Jr., where unfortunately it kind of sucks. We cannot see anything at all what they're doing here. It's just scrim and scaffold. It looks about the same as before. The scrim and scaffold and the construction walls. Taking a peek around the other side, it looks like they've actually extended the scrim though. That scrim is now on that bridge as you turn. As you make that turn, that U-turn from after Cinderella's castle. So it looks like they are extending the work into that area. And as a matter of fact, I tried to see in there because I feel like there's something going on there on that bridge, because it's not just scrim, it's scrim on top. There's scrim on top. I wonder if this is the location of that 10-foot thing. They've got a bunch of stuff wrapped, which could be just to protect what's on that bridge. But I don't know. It feels like they're up to something. Why would they put the scrim over the bridge, right? Does that seem normal to you? Putting the scrim over the bridge? Stay tuned. This could be. We may have been able to identify an actual guest-facing update here. With that, we'll come around the other side, check in on Storybook Land. Looks about the same here. Storybook Land. You can't see anything from Storybook Land. Not at all. That's very well concealed. So that's all the updates actually from Disneyland and DCA for that matter. Let's take a look at the refurb calendar, which, by the way, is quite light. There's not a lot of refurbs happening. It seems like I hear this all the time in the construction and everything. Half the park is closed. It's not, you guys. I'm going to give you the full breakdown here, and it's going to take me 5 seconds. Casey Jr. Storybook Land, we just discussed. Those are closed. Give you that. We don't have a date yet. Still unknown, so you're looking at least early November for those two attractions to reopen. Big Thunder, we know it's going through a refurb, as we talked about. We're looking at least early to mid-November for that reopening as well. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Okay, Sailing Ship Columbia is going down on September 22nd, but that's just 4 days. It'll be back on the 26th. Small World is going down on October 30th, but that's just to do the Christmas overlay, the Small World holiday. That's not a refurb. It's not a closed, attraction that needs maintenance. Radiator Springs Racers, that's closed right now, yes, but it'll be open on Friday. That'll be operational. Goofy Sky School is really the only major thing that's going down at DCA, and that's just for a brief, maybe 1 week refurb. It's closing on September 28th, reopening on October 5th. And then Mickey's PhilharMagic we've discussed. We have a reopening date now. It's closing on October 6th, reopening on October 30th. That's interesting. Or I should say, no, November 1st, or October 31st. I don't know how many days in that month. Whatever, the next day after the 30th. So that is something. But I mean, again, that's not like a big deal in my opinion. And then Redwood Creek Challenge, it's closing on November 1st. There's no reopening date yet. That's only because the calendar can't see past the 2nd, I think. But that's for the Christmas update. They're gonna, they're redoing. They do a Santa meet and greet at Redwood Creek, and they got to install decorations and stuff. So that could be just a couple days to do that. Now you could see, if you go through there now, that they're updating or refurbing that meet and greet space for the Santa meet and greet. So that's it. I mean, there's hardly anything. It's pretty optimal. And we talked about this last week too, that by the time we get through January, Disneyland's going to be in great condition. Actually, it's going to be in great condition by the time we get to the holiday season, I believe. I don't think we're going to see very much on this calendar at all come December. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned. Let us know your comments. Be sure to join us on freshbakepresents.com so you can participate in the construction updates there. Provide images of your own, and we'll talk about whatever. There's a community, there's construction, there's park science. And then we'll see you next time, guys. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. Fresh baked.